I'm Bill Wood. That's John Lindsay. We're at the National Autosport Association National Championships presented by Toyo Tires. We're going to have four races here today. The first one is going to be what's called Group T. That's Super Touring and Performance Touring and Super Unlimited. The Super Unlimited cars are fascinating to me. I'm a big fan of sports racers that go back to my first Can-Am race that I saw at Riverside International Raceway. That was right after the mud hardened, and it was phenomenal to hear all those 7-liter motors and all of those cars. I mean, I was hooked on sports racing forever. And they've got a couple here today, one in particular that my jaw dropped when I went by the pits. It's driven by Bart Carter, a former NASA champion, who has a Radical, and this car is so radical that he has a V8 that's made from 2 Hayabusa motors that somebody has made a crankcase, and they put these 2 1300cc Hayabusa engines in this crankcase, bolted it all together, threw in a little duct tape, and there he has a car. It's going to be a phenomenal show. We heard it warming up this morning, and it sounded a little like Le Mans when that thing goes by the start-finish line, shifts gears, and keeps going. You hear that noise just disappear into the horizon. You got to be at a racetrack to understand the fascination of that. I think that's the white car you see going out there now. That's the Bart Carter Radical that we're talking about. These are the cars that are going out there lining up for the grid for the first race. So, John, give us a little rundown of who's going to be in this.
Well, we're going to have 2 starts here, and the first wave will be Super Unlimited, which is pretty much, as you said, Bill, run what you brung. It's got to meet the safety requirements, but just about anything is okay. So those are some pretty fast cars. They're accompanied by the Super Touring 1. Super Touring 1 uses a power-to-weight ratio. The car has to have an adjusted power-to-weight ratio equal to or greater than 5.50 pounds for each one of the horsepower that's there. So those are pretty fast cars. Second wave will be Super Touring 2, which is instead of 5.5 to 1, it's 8.70 to 1. And there's also in with them Performance Touring A, which is the top of our Performance Touring Series ladder.
And Performance Touring A, is that the category that Robert Davis from Mazda, is that the category he runs in?
Actually, they have cars in, I believe, Performance Touring B, C, and D.
Those are the Robert Davis Racing compound over there. They've got, 6 cars, 6 RX-8s out there in various stages of zoom, and it should be a lot of fun for them. So they're not going to be in this one. But this is, you can see the overview of the Super Unlimited Super Touring category. Super Touring is highly prepared Corvettes, Vipers, etc. Super Unlimited is open to anything from sports racers to late models. And there are a couple of late model stock cars that are out there, and they sound wonderful. You know, I'm not a big fan of stock car racing, but sound in racing is like 75% of the deal, and it just sounds wonderful to hear a car wound up and ready to go. That's the start of the field. You can see right there coming through Tuella Turn, the pace car is going to, that's the kink they're approaching right now. The pace car is going to pull off in another few hundred feet into the entrance to pit row, and we're going to be underway here on Sunday morning. This is a spectacularly beautiful day. I hope the wind doesn't play havoc with these guys, but it's the same wind for everybody, so everybody's under the same conditions.
It looks like our pole sitter for the first group is Pete Johns. Then he's followed by John Stokes, Aaron Fott, and Mark Alger, and Manuel Gildereal, Don Euler, Bart Carter, Stephen Colruyt, Kyle Kelly, and Adam McMahon are our top 10 in the first wave here.
Now, Bart Carter had some problems in his qualifying race on Friday, broke the shift lever, and he spent yesterday trying to get that fixed, so that's why he's a little further back in the crowd. The other sports racer, they're coming through release right now. The starter has the green flag in his hand. He's watching the field, and we're off and racing. Going down this 3,000-foot runway into turn 1, the Corvette takes the early lead going into turn 1, but expect the sports racers, I would imagine once the field gets sorted out, they're going to pick them off one at a time. This is a 40-minute race. In other words, I don't expect that stock car to be in front for the rest of the race.
Well, you never know. The big power might be helpful here with the long straightaway that we have, and who knows? The races have shown us that we really can't predict much on who's going to walk away.
Isn't that the case? And this is the Super Touring cars that are going off. Their race is starting now. They're going into turn. The competition might be a little closer. This is Super Touring and Performance Touring. They're going down into turn 1 right now, and they get through cleanly. You could stack them up 3 and 4 wide on this very wide front stretch, but going through turn 1 is room for maybe 1.5 cars. Sometimes guys that really know what they're doing can go in 2 at a time. And there's the Stokes.
Looks like John Stokes in
Yeah.
that Norma. I think it's a M20B or one of the Norma variants from France, and looks like he got turned around there.
So they are not a lot of racing that's going on right now. They're just getting all sorted out, getting the freight train started, and there's not a lot of challenging for position. There you see the Super Touring cars and the Performance Touring cars. A little closer competition in that category. Some of the cars are side by side.
Looks like Pete Johns is putting a little bit of distance on the field there. Aaron Fott's right behind him. Interestingly, Aaron is a Corvette guy and has a big suspension tuning firm, makes all kinds of cool parts for Corvettes, and the majority of the Corvettes in the Super Touring field are actually running his parts, so he's out here competition proving the goodies that he has for Corvettes.
So let's see. There goes Bart Carter. He is back in the field. After the first lap, we have Pete Johns in the Super Unlimited stock car, followed by Mark Alger, John Stokes. That can't be true. He just spun.
Yeah, I think our live update feed is a little bit off, and it may just be showing us the order they came across when they first crossed. So.
Yeah, so that can't be right.
We got John Gordon out in front of the ST2 field there. He's getting chased down by Kyle Kelly, who actually was in the first, should have been in the first wave. And John Van Kennigan is right behind him in one of the Sevens only Super 7 cars.
Now, the one thing to remember about NASA rules is that you're only allowed to make one move per turn to protect your position. If you make a second or more moves, you are considered blocking, and the stewards frown on that. So you'll see from this, even though it's a long straight, and guys might move back and forth to break the draft behind them, they're only allowed to move once and before they're warned by the steward. So coming out of 15 and release and going into 1 Sunset Bend, you might see cars make some radical move one way or the other, and generally that's to either get out of the way or just try to break the draft of the guy who's following them.
Yeah, and that can be a real critical issue when you're going down that front straight. You want to be able to tuck in and use that draft, but if you're the guy in front, you really don't want anyone tucking in on you so they can get a run at you going into that first turn.
Pete Johns again in the stock car, proving that stock cars can turn right and left. And he seems to be opening up a commanding lead in this thing. We do have one pass going into turn 1.
Yeah, it looks like that was Dustin Dudley coming around Aaron Fott. They're in different classes, so Aaron, I think, was more than happy to let him by, but that was certainly Dustin going up there to try and track down Pete Johns. So we'll see if those two stock cars start to compete for the win in SU.
And some of the guys in the stock car, they do enjoy road racing, and there used to be several classes here, several series here on the West Coast that were specialized in road racing for stock cars. They ran one, I remember, at Willow Springs for several years, and there was the Western region, what do they call it, the K&N West series in NASCAR that runs at Infineon and a couple other places in road courses. I think they run up here, in fact, the Miller Motorsports Park. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Patrick Long, the Porsche driver, the only American Porsche driver who runs for Porsche, won a West Series race here at Miller. That was his first stock car win, I believe, if I got that right.
Well, you can see that Dustin Bedley now is starting to chase down Pete Johns, so he is on a charge because he actually started at the back of that first wave, so he has some strong sauce there under the hood, and he's trying to run Pete down there for the Super Unlimited win.
Is there any competition between the sports car guys and the stock car guys who come and race in they call it the American Stock Car Challenge? Is that what it was, ASC?
Yeah.
Who would come and race? Is there any kind of competition between them and the sports car guys who don't like the idea of a stock car guy coming in and stealing some of their thunder?
You know, not really. I think everybody is just happy to have someone to race against, and there isn't any kind of snobbery that goes on. There might be a little bit of ribbing that goes on, but the ASC series that used to be an in-house NASA series and is now on its own, really cool concept. Those cars, tube frame, fairly lightweight, and they were all using ZZ4 Chevy crate motors, or I think they also use a 351 Ford or a 360 Dodge. And great low-dollar series. Stock cars, I think they're wonderful because of the fact that if something breaks, you only have to unbolt a fiberglass panel, and you don't have to deal with all the problems that you have to deal with at the standard unibody type sports car.
And you also, in a series like the ASC, you don't have to worry about a decision made on Tuesday having an impact on the results on the racetrack on Sunday.
And ASC is a neat series because all the motors are sealed, and that ZZ4 program that they had was great because the motors were all warranted for about a year. So if it blew up, hey, no big deal. You just go get another one from the Chevy dealer.
So Pete Johns is turning laps around 2 minutes. That is fairly fast. There's going to be some faster times, I believe, a little later. The Formula Mazda cars that were running earlier, they were running as much as 5 or 6 seconds faster than that when they got their tires warmed up. So those are fairly quick times by Pete Johns in the Super Unlimited stock car. And Aaron Fott, who's also running around 2:01, about a second slower than Pete. So those are fairly quick times around this 3-mile track.
What we're seeing on the screen now is John Gordon trying to stay out in front of John Van Caneghem again. Looks like the Porsche of John is doing a good job staying out there, but I imagine as we go on, that Mazda will start to catch up a little bit. And remember, with the Mazda, it is also eligible for that program that Dean Case told us about yesterday, with a good chunk of cash and a chance to go to that driver shootout that Mazda holds every year.
Now, there was John Stokes, another Super Unlimited car, who's running, I think he's back up to, third in class? He was running maybe 157s, and with this last lap, I guess after the spin, he was checking to make sure everything was okay. It's only around a 2-minute time. I see a 154 in Super Unlimited from Kyle Kelly, who is sixth in class right now. He's back in the field, but he's running fairly fast.
And that's that really beautiful Camaro, kind of a SECA GT1 style Camaro. And he was really just wicked fast, so I would imagine he'll start moving up the order here pretty quick as we go on.
A lot of good-looking cars out here, and we see the Corvette working its way through the field, passing a much slower car in the ST category.
And the Corvette is really a popular choice for the Super Touring because they're very good out of the box. You don't need to do much to them to get them to really work. And with different levels of power, you can choose ST1 or ST2 pretty easily. But the Corvette has really been a dominant chassis in ST2, and it really, really has worked well.
You can see on the screen we do have the times, the positions at least, going across the top of the screen with the Super Touring 2 category going across there now. A lot of smoke coming from the one Corvette that was We were just talking about passing one of the cars in the Super Touring category. I don't know if that maybe he spilled some oil or if that's a sign of something happening with the car. It seems as though it's smoking. He's pulled off the line, so maybe that is an indication that he thinks there's something wrong with the car. He doesn't want to get oil on the line of the track.
Hopefully if it does blow up, he does have the good sense to pop off to one side or another. Sometimes we will have problems where someone will blow an oil line or something like that, and they'll say, well, gee, I might as well just drive it back into the pits, and I think I'll stay right on the racing line.
Yeah, right. That's the fastest way out of the way, is to stay on the racing line.
And often that will earn you a trip out in the safety truck to get some kitty litter and a broom to help them out a little bit.
Help them clean it up? Really? That's happened before?
Absolutely. Why not?
That's only fair.
Personal responsibility.
That's only fair. So we still have Pete Johns who's leading. Now he's starting to feel a little concerned, so he's dipped into the 159 category, and he's being chased by Aaron Fott. There's a different, Johns is a Super Unlimited, the Super Touring 1, Aaron Fott is 159.9, and that is, they're moving along now. The guys are getting their tires warmed up, and you see another 159 here from John Stokes in the Super Unlimited category. He's second in class.
Looks like we've got a good battle shaping up between James Wagaman and Thor Jerdam. They are both in those we call those Super 7s. Those are all built by Tom Dragoon at the Sevens Only shop in Buttonwillow, California, and they are full tube frame cars with Mazda 13B engines in them, 5-speed trans, and then a body, fiberglass body that's based on the FD chassis Mazda RX-7.
Now there's a lot of work that's being done. You see a lot of different cars that you wouldn't think are equal in performance, like the RX-7 there, and tube-frame RX-7, and the Evo that's keeping up with them, Mitsubishi Evo that's kind of keeping up with them. And a lot of work is being done in the categories to keep the weight to power ratio equal, so that you can see cars that are very different running equal times with each other on the racetrack. That takes a lot of effort, doesn't it, John? That's something that the people at NASA and other organizations work very hard. NASA even has its own dyno in the back so that you can check. A guy says, I only have 500 horsepower, and you put it on the dyno and it's got 650, then that can cause some problems for a lot of people.
Yep, and our good friend Greg Brown from Modular Depot brings his dyno out for us just so we can check it in. Looks like we got a pass for the lead there.
Yeah, it looks like the Pete Johns has
Dustin Dudley
given up some time. Looks like Pete is pulled out of the line too, so maybe he has experiencing some problems.
Oh yeah, he's smoking big. He's got a side exit on that car. Look at that big spray coming up.
Oh yeah, it's overheated. Yeah.
Oh yeah, something is blowing up huge. So I hope he gets offline, and well, that may be even the F word starting up there, a little bit of fire. I hope not. But it looks like it's coming from inside the car, which is never a good sign.
So Pete Johns, the race leader, has experienced some problems, and he's pulling off the track and getting out of the way. Yeah, it looks like we're being told now that it looked like it was coming out of the overflow area, so it looks like steam, and maybe if he can stay out of the way and no water's getting on the track, then there won't be any problem from it.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear it's not something like an oil fire or something like that. Those can get out of hand pretty quick, and especially they're very scary when you have a fire in the cockpit.
We've had a couple of fires here this weekend. In fact, there was one guy in one of the lower classes. One of the lower classes actually had a fire, went out and found another car, transferred all his equipment, came out and did well in his final race.
Yeah, that was Pete Bovenberg. Never give up.
We're going to go to break right now. Stick with us. We've got some great racing here in the NASA National Championships presented by Toyota. We're at Miller Motorsports Park. Race 1 today. This is Group D. Some of the faster cars from Super Unlimited to Performance Touring, Super Touring. This is going to be a good race. We've already lost the leader. Let's come on back and see who's going to take over. Be right back.
The 2010 National Autosport Association National Championships is brought to you by Toyo Tires, driven to perform.
Quality and value, style, performance. Sure, you want it all, but just don't want to spend it all. No problem. Just go with the brand voted #1 overall, Toyo Tires, for 7 of the last 9 years by people who know best. Independent tire dealers, just like me. So for top quality and top value, take it from the pros. Toyo Tires.
National Championships presented by Toyo Tires. Toyo Tires. That's Toyo Tires that's presenting the NASA National Championships here at Miller Motorsports Park in Tooele, Utah. Beautiful day for racing. We've got temperatures in the 70s. It is a bit windy. We've already lost our early leader in the race. Pete Johns has gone out. Now we have Aaron Fott, John Stokes. Those are the two leaders in Super Touring and Super Unlimited. John Stokes in the Sports Racer just going across the finish line. Our Super Touring 2 leader, that's on the hook right now. He had a problem while we were away at break. He's being towed off. Super Touring 2 leader was John Van Caneghem.
I thought it was John Gordon that was our leader in Super Touring 2, so we'll have to get a little closer look. It's, as you mentioned, the dust out here is making it a little hard for us to see out of the tower to get a real good visual on where everybody is out there.
But leading the race right now is Aaron Fott, the Super Touring 1. He's turning times around the 2-minute area. Everybody is going back and forth between 1:59. The fastest guy on the track, though, remains Kyle Kelly, who was in a Super Unlimited Camaro, and he's running a 1:58 on his last lap, 1:58.5. So given the time, this is a 40-minute race, and we just started it. We're only about 15 minutes into this race. He's moving forward as fast as he can. Right now he's third in Super Unlimited and fifth overall, but he's the fastest car on the track and has consistently been that. So he's running times in the 150s compared to the leader, who was running around 2 minutes. So if you can make up 2 seconds a lap, you're going to be eventually leading this race.
Yeah, and it's really nice to see Aaron out front, because he did have a heartbreaker last year where he got together, if I remember right, with a Viper towards the end of the race. Oh, we've got a big contrail of dust there. And interestingly, that's exactly where Aaron had his incident last year, and he got airborne after a collision with a Viper, and it was the last lap of the race and cost him the championship last year. And here's Kyle Kelly. He's coming into the release, and you can see he's battling there, so he is definitely working up the order. Here they come. Now we've got our battle for first in ST2. You can see again that this a little bit of the variety in chassis, one of our Super 7s and a Corvette. They're going after it, trying to get the win in ST2 there. So it looks like John Van Caneghem. And let me catch that's the number 222 Corvette, which is Jeffrey Sautel. So those two are trying to get the win in ST2. Again, two very different cars, but you can see the performance is right there. They're turning pretty similar lap times and having a good battle for that win in ST2.
Yeah, Jeffrey Sautel was second in class, and he just passed the leader in the class, Super Touring 2. Give me a quick rundown on Super Touring. Super Touring 1 is the faster version of Super Touring 2, and those are cars that are probably production-based at some time?
Well, in this case, yes. We introduced a new class called Super Touring R, and that was really focused on more of the tube frame cars. But in some cases, we do make exceptions for the cars that are all built in a production manner, like the 7s only, Super 7s there. And we let those compete in Super Touring. But you're right, most of them are production-based, with that emphasis on the power-to-weight ratios. And there are other modifications that are allowed, but we call them adjusted weight-to-horsepower ratio. Because if you do certain modifications or come in at certain weights, we give you a little tweak just to adjust the ratio from where it's not just a straight across ratio, but there are little mathematical modifications that get done.
Jeffrey Sautel was obviously faster. than John Van Caneghem. In fact, he was his previous lap before this one, he was about a second faster, and he was able to catch John Van Caneghem and take over Super Touring 2, and he is put another second on him, and that's how he got around him. So he is running faster than he's now leading Super Touring 2 category.
Well, and there's also, the usual game that we've been seeing of tire management. And maybe Jeffrey, hanging back in the first part of the race there, was able to conserve his tires a little better, and John was trying to run out and doesn't have the grip anymore as the race is going on. We're about 20 minutes in, halfway.
We ought to try to find Kyle Kelly. He's the car number 13, Super Unlimited category. He is flying, 157.8 on his last lap. He's moved to second in Super Unlimited behind Dustin Dudley, who's the new leader in Super Touring and Super Unlimited in leading the race. And but the fastest car on the track is Kyle Kelly, and Dustin Dudley now is broken into the 157 range. So these are the two cars that are the fastest on the track. They're not quite together yet, but those are the two fastest cars on the track, and we're going to see, we're about halfway through this race. If they continue to run at this pace, we're going to see some close racing before the end.
Well, right now we can see right there is Kyle Kelly, and he's starting to catch up going into the attitudes with some slower traffic. And he will probably be able to use that motor. I suspect if it's the sort of car that I think it is, the GT1 style, those have a lot of squirt and really can move out with those high RPM, high compression motors.
Let's take a look at Aaron Fott. He's a leader in Super Touring 1, number 190. We talked to him earlier. Let's get a listen to what's going on with Aaron Fott there in the silver Corvette.
Fott Race Engineering has become synonymous with Corvette performance. Aaron, tell me about this amazing Super Touring 1 car that you guys have put together.
Well, we started with a 2006 Z06, added all the Fott suspension, and then kept everything else as stock as possible to prove that all it takes is a fast production Corvette and some suspension, and you can go out and be competitive in Super Touring.
And in Super Touring 1, Super Touring 2, we see all kinds of Corvettes with the Fott sticker on the side. What is it that Fott Race Engineering does? What are all the parts that you guys build?
Well, we build a full suspension system for these cars for making them club racers, and it starts with coilovers, and we add race sway bars and spherical bearing kits and polyurethane bushings and engine mounts, just really anything that it takes to make a production car track worthy.
And we've seen in the past, this is a hot track. We're out in the desert. It's a really long course. What are some things that you've done to make sure this car is consistently quick throughout the final Super Touring 1 race?
Well, it's a 45-minute race, so we really have to work hard on cooling, and it's an issue we've struggled with in the past, but we've updated the radiator, oil cooling for both the engine and trans and diff, and obviously we cool the driver to keep my brain in the game when things get hot out there. But the cooling is under control this year. It's everything's working really well. The car's running great. I can't wait to get out there for the final race.
So the best laid plans of mice and men sometimes go astray. There's Aaron Fott, that we just did the feature on, and he's had a problem and coasted to a stop on the track. He was leading this race for a few minutes and a few laps, and now I guess he wanted to stop and see his own piece. Maybe he's got Speedcast TV in that Corvette, and he wanted to stop and see the piece. But now that it's over, he should be going again.
Yeah, and that is a real heartbreaker. Real heartbreaker for Aaron after last year crashing and now having the motor go south on him. And we've also got another race we haven't really talked about is the Performance Touring A. We have Jeffrey Diffenderfer out front with David Levas behind him. And Jeff is actually in a Miata, and he's beating the Porsche there. So that's an example, of how you can really trick out a car. The humble Miata taking it to the Porsche 997.
Is that a Miata or an MX-5? You think that's an MX-5 maybe? I can't imagine a Miata. I don't care what factors you use.
I know Jeff, and I think that he's coming down the front straight right now, and that looks a lot like a Miata
That's
to me.
a Miata, yeah.
But I believe
wow.
he's put a turbocharger on it, and done a lot of other work, very careful tweaking and tuning, and I'll be darned, he's out there beating up the 997.
Just spun. Wow. The current ST2 leader just spun. Well, maybe it's our cameras that are having an impact on these guys. They want to stop and see themselves. That's Jeffrey Sawtelle, who was leading the...
And it sounds like he was smoking a little bit as well. And who knows, maybe he spun right there in some oil. There you saw Aaron Fott sitting off there in the background. Boy, yeah. I tell you, we put a camera on a car and it starts smoking, and now he's probably going to get a smack from the safety crew. And now that looks like, is that our Super Unlimited leader?
Dustin Dudley.
And here comes Kyle Kelly right around him, and yeah, that's Dustin Dudley. He's got.
So
problems.
That's just a pass for the lead on the track and lead in the class. Kyle Kelly is running in the Super Unlimited, and like we said, Kyle Kelly is still the fastest car on the track. His last lap was 1:57.3. He has a fast best time of 1:54.5. So if you're the fastest guy on the track, give it enough time, you're going to work your way to the top. Now, I don't know why Dustin Dudley didn't pull off. I don't know if he thinks he's going to last another 20 minutes or so on the track, but there's our current leader in the race, Kyle Kelly, number 13 in that highly modified Camaro. Now, John, you were telling me that in the case of the performance touring, maybe in that Mazda, that you can start with X, and the more changes you make on it, you're given a few points for that. And if you build up so many points, then you have to move out of the class. Do I have that right?
Well, we do it alphabetically. It's A through F, and so a car can start in any one of those categories. If you have a really hot car to start with, you're going to be an A, and you can't do a darn thing to it. But the humble Miata would start in probably E or D, and then every time you add more points, for example, a set of very sticky tires will cost you either 8 or 11 points, and every time you get to another 20 points, you get bumped up another letter. So you can tell that Jeff Diffenderfer's done a lot of work on that car in order to be able to get it from starting in E or D all the way to A. So that's a pretty radical Miata.
And to see it competing with Porsches and RX-8s and beating them, it's proof enough that it's pretty radical. This again is our leader on the track, Kyle Kelly, and here's another car that's off to the side. That looks like maybe one of the Robert Davis cars, Robert Davis Racing. He is an executive at Mazda, and he has several of the RX-8s, and there is one that is
looks like the number
on
07
the sideline.
car. That's part of that Mother's Mazda powerhouse team. That's James Holloway, Super Touring 2. Looks like he's off. Something has blown up, and we're starting to see some of the casualties. They're doing a lot of racing over the weekend. You're putting a lot of time on the car, which can wear things out and blow them up.
Now, I think that Mazda, I may have this.
There's Jeff Diffenderfer we were talking about with that Miata. You can see he's out there doing pretty well. Oh, but he's getting the curse of the camera again. You saw that under deceleration, he's starting to poof a little smoke. So hopefully, maybe we can get the camera off Jeff, and he'll have a better chance.
There was, last night, I was in the Mazda pits talking to some friends, and they were working on one of the cars there. I think it was the one that we just had a problem with. They said, and it was this happens to a lot of people when you make a change, make another change on top of it, make another change on top of that. Sometimes these changes don't correspond and sync with each other, and you get problems that just continue and continue and continue. And the only way you can solve it is to take the whole thing apart and start over again, because you don't know what electrical things don't work with each other and so forth. Now, I don't know that that's the case for the problem that they're having, but that was one of the things that they did talk about. And Robert Davis himself was working on the car last night, and I walked up and shook his hand, and he said, no time now, I got to work on the car. So, they were Most of those cars are working well, but they had a problem with one of them.
Yeah, and that's a good point. When you start trying to chase a problem and you just don't know what it is and you make too many changes, boy, I've gone down that rat hole before where you'll think, oh, okay, I want to make it turn in, so I'll modify this, that, and the other. It looks like we are already to our checkered flag. We may be going checker a bit early because of all the debris, and Kyle Kelly just took that Super Unlimited championship.
So the race was supposed to be 40 minutes, and it only shows 28 on the clock. So you think, would they call it if there's too much debris or oil on the track from all the engine expires that have happened?
Yeah, and that's a tough call because we definitely want to make sure everybody is safe out there, and we just can't. With 10 minutes left, if we were to go out and try to clean it up, put everybody under caution, we'd just finish under yellow. So we might as well just let them finish under green and enjoy themselves there. But I imagine with all the blowed up cars that we're going to have some oil cleanup to do before our next race.
Blowing them up real good. So that's what we get for putting them on TV. A lot of these guys might have video screens in their cars, and they want to see themselves. They're not paying attention to the tack, and there goes another motor.
Absolutely.
It's kind of in jest, but there is a problem, and they've called the race early here. It shows about 30 minutes have gone by in a 40-minute race, and so the winner in Super Unlimited is Kyle Kelly. He's also the winner of the race. He was the fastest. So second is John Stokes, and third in Super Unlimited is Donald Euler.
And it looks like Jeffrey Diffenderfer just came across the line and took that PTA championship. Well done.
Super Touring 1, George Smith. Second is Mark Alger. And third is Michael Edmondson. If this is all right, you're looking at the order. This is the start order in the race. This is the finishing of the race. Kyle Kelly, this is the result. Kyle Kelly, John Stokes, Donald Euler, Bart Carter in that wild, radical V8 motorcycle engine V8
with the Frankenbusa.
With the just a phenomenal car. You got to see it to believe it. Dustin Dudley and Pete Johns. Those are the top six. These are the unofficial results. This is ST1, George Smith, Mark Alger, Michael Edmondson, Matt Guyver, Aaron Vaught. He blew up, so he was able to coast. He turned 11 laps, and Terry Free. ST2, Ron Farmer is our champion. Team Howard Racing, John Von Canigam, Jeffrey Sawtell, Josh Carroll. You could read the names there. How normal is it to call a race early? Does this happen? It seems like it might be pretty rare.
You know, with the big show like this, with the championship, we do our best to try and give it the full time. But usually I've seen it happen where you really have no choice, because at NASA we really pride ourselves on keeping on time and on schedule. So we only have a certain amount of daylight to work with at the track, and so we really have to manage the time effectively. Sometimes that means we have to call a race a little bit early.
Now, what happens now in big races? You see guys go out and spray champagne and have a lot of fun and so forth, but this doesn't always happen. That's not necessarily the case in NASA races. These cars are going back behind the pit wall to do what?
Well, they're going to go into the impound area, and I can tell you with the Super Touring guys, they're going to see some time on the wheels of steel there on the dyno to verify their power-to-weight ratios. Super Unlimited, I don't know what we'd really check because it's run what you brung and wide open. PTA, there'll probably be inspections to make sure they marked off all the correct boxes, totaling up their points. And ST2, both ST1 and 2, I'm sure we'll see some dyno time.
In fact, yesterday there was some real concern on the part of several drivers and officials, some confrontations actually, and one of the winners yesterday, we don't have to say who, but one of the winners yesterday was actually booted out because he had some illegal shocks on his car.
Yeah, and that's a heartbreaker when somebody has a national championship, but nonetheless we have to ensure that all of the champions are indeed legitimate, and sure as shooting we caught one of our winners yesterday with some illegal parts on the car, and we really don't have much of a choice then we have to take that championship away. But you got to show up with a legal car.
And that's under appeal right now, so we don't want to say the name and cause all the embarrassment if the appeal is successful. But what's happening is that these cars are going back behind the wall. They'll go into an impound area. They'll be checked for the legalness, the legality of the car, make sure everything is okay, and then they will turn them loose. So this is the NASA National Championships presented by Toyo Tires, Miller Motorsports Park, Tooele, Utah. Beautiful day for racing. We've had our first race, and our champion, Kyle Kelly, in the Camaro is the Super Unlimited champion and the winner of our first race. Come on back. We'll have a few more before we take a break.
The 2010 National Autosport Association National Championships is brought to you by Toyo Tires, driven to perform.
Quality and value. Style. Performance. Sure, you want it all. You just don't want to spend it all. No problem. Just go with the brand voted #1 overall, Toyo Tires. For 7 of the last 9 years by people who know best. Independent tire dealers, just like me. So for top quality and top value, take it from the pros. Toyo Tires.